Hey, you are tuning to Podcast 404, where we ramble, we reflect, and we speak about things that matter to us in the community and things that are within us. I'm your host, Clement, and my guest here today is
Jimmy Onono.
Welcome, Jimmy Onono, and today we're going to speak about information. Why do we struggle with information in our lives?
Yeah.
And Jimmy, you're welcome to today's podcast. And my first question to you today is, we struggle a lot with information in Kakuma refugee setting. And a lot of information that people are being fed with sometimes becomes misinformation. And this information could hurt people, and this information can actually destroy people's lives, in short. What is happening?
Clement, I think that's a very good question. I think one thing that is actually not well in the camp is that there's a strategy that the people who disseminate information to the people within the camp populace, is a bit needs fixing. I'll give you an example. One thing is that we have the people who are in charge of different groups. The camp is divided into groups and blocks.
Yeah.
And so if the information is coming from the government or UNHCR or even any agency, the thing they believe in is that they call the people who are in charge of the refugee communities, yeah? Mm-hmm. They take into account that if we give this information, for example, to the block leaders and the zonal leaders, they have this belief that once that information has been delivered to them, they will go back to their communities and talk to the people who are at the grassroots level.
Yeah.
But the thing that is missing out is that how do they know that if this information is given, those people who at home, whatever in their communities and the blocks, how do they ascertain that this information has reached just the way they have delivered it?
Yeah.
And this is where the gap is.
And how accurate is that information?
How accurate is that? And again, if you look at the block and the zonal context, people come from different backgrounds and they're living within these blocks.
Yeah.
So for any information to be delivered, there has to be series of meetings within the blocks or even within the camp populace. So my take is that the people who usually get the right information are the elite. These people who have gone to school, they know. But then they do not make the effort to talk to the grassroots level, because this is where misinformation comes in. I remember there was a year around 2008, there was this food supplement called Mix Me.
Yeah.
It was brought to the camp.
Yeah.
And the intention of bringing this food supplement was good, because there was a realization that there was malnourishment and the food that is given to the refugee population was not supporting enough.
Yeah.
So people were getting sick. So somebody conducted a needs assessment, I don't know how, and they came up with an idea of providing Mix Me.
Yeah.
But the people who attended the meeting knew, of course, that Mix Me was beneficial.
Yeah.
But then the grassroots people who have never gone to school, which of course the population of the camp is a lot of people who have never gone to school. And during that time, thanks to this time now that the majority of children have had access to going to school and they have gone to school.
Yeah.
So you know what happened? Somebody just twisted a little bit. Do you know, somebody who gave you this Mix Me is just trying to give you birth control. They never wanted you to deliver many children. And you know, this one is spoken around a water point, football games, and stuff like that. So just imagine when this information was taken to the people in the language of their catchment, the context, like spoken in Arabic to them, spoken in different dialects, Acholi, Didinga, and stuff. There's a way that flame of information goes very fast, and people started throwing Mix Me. They could get it from the center and they just destroy it. But this thing was very, very beneficial. Another thing is context. The issue of the Sherika plan.
Yeah.
Up to now, many of the camp population do not understand whether Sherika plan is a good thing or is a bad thing, because there was no buy-in. The buy-in I'm talking about here is that we expected the people who are coming up with this Sherika plan should reach out to the grassroots, the main stakeholders who will be impacted by this Sharika plan.
Yeah.
So who are the main stakeholders? We are looking at the locals, the people in the interior places of the local community, which is the Turkana, and also people who live in Kalobeye and Kakuma refugee who do not have interaction with the organizations that are always meeting the leaders. Do they have this information? So people do not have those information. Shirika plan could be a very good thing, but people lack the information about it. The question we should be asking now is, who should bridge the gap in this communication? Because if the intention of communication is to empower somebody with some kind of information, and if this information is not given accurately, that is the nature of communication. It will always be twisted, and it will become some kind of misinformation. That is my take.
Thank you. Information is very powerful, and communicating with an intention to empower somebody, or with an intention for someone to make a decision, I think is very key. What do you think could be the role of the local CBOs and the agencies and the community structures to disseminate the right information, and how can they do this?
That's a very good question. I think the first question that anyone who wants to give the information to the local populace, the population within the camp or Kalobeye or even in the local, should be asking is, how will I know that this information has reached the intended target? Because that is the starting point. Talking to 10 people, talking to 100 of people who represent people from within their communities does not necessarily mean that this information that you are giving them has gone to the grassroots, because this is where information consumption needs to happen. So my take is like this. Now we have very many RLOs, refugee-led organizations that are coming into play. We have something like 4 or 4 now that we are discussing. Why not empower these people with the rightful information? Because these are people who actually talk to the grassroots people every day in their interaction. Now, let me give you an example. You always go to the football field, We have tournaments that are happening everywhere in the camp. So tournaments bring a lot of people. Why don't we create themes? Themes which accompanied with pamphlets. Pamphlets with key information that should reach out to people in different languages. If we give them outside there, somebody picks it and goes with it home and say, you know, something is like this, It creates a sense of urgency for someone to get key in understanding what is going on. And this is where, if people start asking, I heard about this, what do you know about this? Comes to you, goes to every other person. That is now the way that they will now bridge the gap. Now, you see now. So if the RLOs who are working with the refugees get to know concrete information. I'll give you an example. If, for example, the Sirika plan, ask yourself, how many meetings have happened? How many of the meetings about Sirika plan has happened within the refugee context, within blocks? Not during the implementation process, but during the initial stage. If you go to anywhere and you want to support the people, you need to get what is good for them, you interact with them, let them get to know their opinion, right? So I'm thinking that the people who are in charge of information needs to strengthen their ties with the CBOs, needs to work with the not only just the block leaders, but the people, opinionated, youth leaders, people who matter, people who interact with the vast majority of others within the communities. So when they kind of get this information in their talks, in the, there are places where people gather to take coffee. There are places where people play dominoes. There are football fields. People go to churches, They pass some of this information. And once they keep on passing this kind of information, people get interested. They ask the right questions. Somebody is there to explain,
and they
because
give feedback.
Yes, they also give their feedback, And when some of this feedback now, the community leaders now, in their own different meetings, you find that somebody will be talking, oh, you see, I heard about this. We are not sure if this happens like this. It will also empower the people who connect the voices of the people here to whoever is giving this kind of information. So I think there's a strategy that needs to change. A strategy of only calling the block leaders to talk to them and assume that they will deliver this information back to the communities.